aspects, quite a challenging job, I'm sure, as many people can imagine. For somebody who had strong feelings, I had a choice. I could either complain from the sidelines, or I could actually try and influence things.
Ni, fel plaid, sydd wedi gwneud yr achos dros ddefnyddio y pwerau yma.
But of course you realise soon enough that reality is very different and you've got to pick and choose your battles. You are in a privileged position of being able to influence, directly influence government policy, where money is spent, what laws are passed, and when they are passed, you can be involved in shaping them and changing them. You've been up all night. Your days, you're confused. You're absolutely a physical wreck. Public opinion, shifts, and then all of a sudden the minister thinks we've got to do something about this. That sense of mission, that sense of wanting to do good and to change things for the better. But I see now, you can't be 100 miles an hour 100% of the time. I'm Llyr Hughes Griffith, originally from Carmarthen, but I've been living in Ruthin in North Wales for many years now. And I represent North Wales as a member of the Senedd, which is the Welsh Parliament, sharing my time between working across North Wales with constituents, but also, of course, working down in the Senedd, the Welsh Parliament in Cardiff. Well, I was born into a very political family. My father was particularly politically active. He worked for Gwynfor Evans for a number of years, who was the first ever Plaid Cymru Member of Parliament. So my earliest years revolved around political activity. So I was raised in a household where politics was very much to the fore. So when I got to an age when I was a little bit older, having been to college and come back, it just felt like a natural progression, really, for somebody who had strong feelings. I had a choice. I could either complain from the sidelines, or I could actually try and influence things and become part of, a council or a parliament or whatever to try and change things for the better. I have two lives, two existences, one here in North Wales and one down in Cardiff. Up here, it's about helping constituents, working with organisations, groups and individuals to address local issues, to help individuals with not getting hospital appointments, waiting long times on waiting lists, or dealing with blocked drains and helping to get the council to sort something out. The other part then, which tends to be focused down in Cardiff, is the parliamentary scrutiny of government policy, the creation of legislation, the line-by-line scrutiny of laws and regulations, and can be a bit mundane, but for me the trick is, how do you bridge those two? So there's a strong rhythm to my working week.
Hallelujah, right. Deud diolch yn fawr, neithiwr. Reit, gadw hwn yn saff, lydio. Reit te. Beth sy'n digwydd yn y byd ar
Mondays start in the constituency, usually in the office, possibly meetings, certainly dealing with email and dealing with constituent matters.
Money. Reit, hwn yw'r allan. Oh, nice one. Okay.
So I will hand over to Terry now.
Thank you very much, Lee, and very nice to see you all. Thank you for joining the call.
Because if I want to go from Ruthin, which is where I live, to Wrexham, which is the nearest sort of, large town, I could drive it in 30 minutes. If I take the bus, it's literally twice that, it's an hour. Mae'n dod yn rhan o'r narratif. Hynny yw, mae o'n pushback hawdd I llafur. Ti'n pan da ni'n deud lle mae'r arian am hwn, neu pam bod chi'n torri'r llall, wel, mae'n hawdd nhw ddeud, wel, chi sydd wedi mynnu bod ni'n gwario ar y pethau eraill yma, so beth ydych chi eisiau rhoi fewn y pote? Be dwi yn conscious ydy, da ni'n di rhoi dim byd allan. So lein fi ydy, it's the right call, it needed happening. Na, dwi'n angen cyfarfod nhw.
OK, diolch am y briefing, but, A wedyn, dwi wedi sortio allan
Na ti.
list.
Ocê.
Ti eisiau ateb, Joyce?
Na, just neud o.
Right, done it.
Great.
Lovely.
Good.
Would you like a drink at all?
No, I'm all right, thanks. No, I'm okay, thanks. Yeah, I'm all right. Yeah, you've got a nice little setup, fair play. Yeah. How are you here? Right, yeah, nice to meet you. Yeah, UK, yeah, good. Very well, thanks. Yeah. Well, that's the least I could do, crikey. We all depend on these guys, so it's the least we could do.
Something was happening in Wrexham, but I think that has just shone a global spotlight.
I mean, we're not going to go anywhere without a bloody decent health service, are we? That's the fundamental, They say about governments, about sort of the first duty of government is to protect its people.
Real sort of gritty community determination that's now emerging in Wrexham. It's always been there, but it's emerging in the sense that it's now being widely recognised.
She said, well, in order to find the money, I'm going to have to cut frontline services. I said, well, hang on, these are the bloody frontline. Nice to see you, gents. All the best.
Thank you.
I hope I don't have to come and see you here again, but if I do, I will, right? So we're with you all the way. Yeah, okay. All the best. Ta-ra.
I'll show you a quick video. So bring you back.
Oh, crikey. Okay. Is this going to be embarrassing now, is it?
2011. Found this on YouTube.
Oh!
The
the result
yeah.
night. Yeah. I start here.
Senedd, Geraldine, Sandbach. Fe gael ar ran tîm blaid Gogledd Cymru, diolch yn fawr am eu cyfraniad ar Ethrolion Cymru a'r holl broses yma dros yr oriau maith diwetha. I'd like to thank you, Returning Officer, and your team for your excellent work over the long few hours that we've
That's a long time ago.
Yeah.
And what people don't realise is, of course, you've been up all night.
Did you?
The counting, because they were counting the constituencies overnight and then counting the regional list afterwards. And you're dazed, you're confused, you're absolutely a physical wreck. And it does take a lot out of you because you've been pounding the streets for weeks and weeks and months, every day, every hour of daylight. And then even after that, then you're expected to turn up in a hustings somewhere in a village hall or in a chapel vestry and perform and answer any question that anybody could ask from the audience. And we've had some curveballs as well. Yeah, but the adrenaline, having been elected, just sort of carries you over the line, I think. And then of course it hits you. A few days or a week or two after, at the time, of course, when you're thrown into a totally new alien world where you have to learn on your feet and really pick things up quickly and understand a lot of pretty complicated stuff in terms of procedures in the Parliament and political stuff as well, Well, the Senedd is the Welsh Parliament. It's an elected Parliament of 60 members representing different parts of Wales on behalf of different political parties, as you can imagine. It's slightly different to Westminster because we have 40 constituency members and another 20 that are elected on a proportional representation basis, 4 of which represent the North Wales region. And there are a number of areas that have been devolved from Westminster to the Senedd in Cardiff, areas such as health, education, aspects of the economy, climate, agriculture, etc., etc. It can be a bit difficult sometimes when there are elements that aren't devolved and others that are, and obviously we wish to get to grips with some problems, and maybe, you know, Westminster has to do certain things to allow us to fulfil our aspirations. But other than that, yeah, it's quite a challenging job. Later on the Monday, then I travel down to Cardiff. You know, you're on the train, you know, 7, 8, 9 hours a week. You know, 3 or 4 hours down and back. I've had many challenging days, like being stuck on a train for 7 hours because of delays and broken down trains ahead of you and you can't go back because there's some other problem behind you as well, and that wasn't enjoyable at all. People think, oh, you know, it must be nice going down to Cardiff. Initially it is, and when you have a bit of time that you can relax, that's great. But more often than not, it's a bit of a chore. Tuesday, Wednesday and Thursday tend to be business days in Cardiff.
Bore how are you? You alright? Just had an email off you, I think. I haven't read it yet. I've clocked it. How are you? You alright? Bore da, shwmai? You alright? Shwmai min? I didn't read your column in the Western Mail today, but I've seen it. Oh, is it in today? It is in today, yes, about the fishing industry. Oh, I think I jumped the queue then. Didn't realise there was a queue. There we are. Typical politician. Shwti, ti'n alright? Da iawn, ti'n alright? Ti'n cael iawn? Da iawn, da iawn. Mae'n neis yn hyn, o'r i fi yn licio fan hyn, o'n i fan hyn, wrth ystlethan.
Yn naturiol, mae wythnos brecfast yn wythnos bwysig iawn I Undeb Amaethwyr Cymru. Mae'n gyfle I ni gyfarfod efo aelodau a gymdeithas leol, ond hefyd yn gyfle I gyfarfod efo'r gwleidyddion.
Have you done dating or? Happy New Year to you. Happy New Year. How are you, Dennis? You okay? Good to see you. Ground floor, first, second floor. Yeah. Gornel bella, y bloc ochr in. If you don't mind, I've got a couple of cameras following me. Oh, look out. Shwmai, siwr I ti. Ti'n alright? Da iawn, shwmai fynd. Dim problem o gwbl, dim problem.
Mae glostod arwydd Plaid Cymru mas
o ffent. O, Hewl Bronwydd. Sef bob man fel Hewl Bronwydd yn un iawn. Gret, diolch yn fawr iawn. Na fe? Na, dim problem, nes i o'r ti. Odi, gwrdd, odi'n dal I fynd, dal I gredu. Ie, odi'n wara teg. Na fe, gret, diolch yn fawr iawn. Na fe, bach o darllen I bedtime reading yn o'r hyn.
Sian a Will, ond mae cwpl o drop-ins o'r hyn, so think kidney ma a beth yw'r llawn a beth surgery care. So newn ni wneud y ddau na ar ôl y cyfarfod gyda Sian, a wedyn neud y cino, a wedyn mewn I plenary. Mae'n teimlo bod ni wedi cael y ddadl yma 2-4 o weithiau'n barod yn y mis neu ddau ddwytha, a dwi'n gwneud dim ymddiheiriad am y ffaith bod y diolch am hynny I Blaid Cymru. Ch'mod, I ni wedi bod yn barod I fynd i'r afel a'r pwnc yma, yn hytrach na jyst nodio'r peth drwyddo, felly fel fydde wedi digwydd fel arfer.
Ni hwylom Rachel nawr sy'n trefnu. Ti'n cael o'r
Spot on, ti'n gwybod ti?
Da iawn, o'r gweld ti. Gyson, popio fyny ar y timeline, rhaid Hello. Llyr. From Ruthin, yes. How are you? Right, nice to meet you. Shwmai. Okay, yeah, very well, thanks. So, yeah. Do you mind? Yeah, because as a member for North Wales, obviously, I want to celebrate North Wales business and success.
Yeah, no problem at all.
That's me. If, you know, I wouldn't mind coming over and having a look at some time if that's okay. But
you're always on. You know, people ask you about things when you're in the pub. They expect you to know in your own mind what you think about anything and everything. It could be everything. So that can be quite challenging, but you develop coping mechanisms, you develop ways of, you know, explaining to people in a nice way that, you know, I'm really not going to get engaged with that now. Some members, it impacts their health, you know, mental health, physical health as well. But you feel sometimes as if you're on a treadmill, and you have to remind yourself that you need to step off now and again.
Well on, Osh! Bloody great. Well on, lads. Come on. Excellent. Come on.
Spending time with the kids is probably the main focus when I'm not working, particularly when my kids are playing.
Yes! Die out. Come on. Well done.
And I have a choice there of two play rugby, one plays football, another one does gymnastics and a little bit of sort of rugby and football as well. So it's, yeah, so there's plenty of options there.
Good head. And again. Go on. Go on. Hit it. Yeah! Oh no, he's giving a bloody free kick. Oh, I don't believe it. Oh, unlucky lads, come on, and again, let's go again. It's there for the taking.
Social media obviously is a big part of the communications landscape now. It's a way to engage with electors, particularly younger demographics. Back in 2011 when I was elected, Twitter, was something I used. Facebook a little bit, wasn't really into social media, but now of course, you've got to do everything on social media, really, anything you do. So any contributions I make in the Senedd which are worthy of putting up on social media goes up as a clip.
Ambulance staff were on strike for better pay and conditions. A fit-for-purpose public transport system that will take pressure and of course the current boom in interest in the beautiful game today.
We try and use it as a means to communicate because newspapers aren't what they used to be in terms of circulation. So yeah, it's one of the few media outlets, if you like, that we can actually use ourselves. So it's an important part of the work. So on Tuesdays and Wednesdays we have the full Parliament meeting. I was Environment and Rural Affairs in my first period in the Senedd. And of course, any issues relating to your portfolio then that's raised, if the minister that you're shadowing makes a statement or something, then you clearly have to respond on behalf of the party, but you need to understand behind the policy, how is that going to work? How is that going to be paid for? How much is it going to cost? Who is going to deliver it? You learn to know what you need, at your fingertips really in terms of that information, and what you might have a bit more time to go away and look at. Committees meet as well. I sit on the Climate Change, Environment and Infrastructure Committee. I chair that committee actually. One of my favourite moments actually was when I proposed a motion in the Senedd that Wales declares a climate emergency, and that was passed. And ours was the first parliament in the world, as far as we know, to declare a climate emergency. And then, of course, that has now led to statutory targets on carbon reduction. We're now looking to introduce statutory targets on restoring biodiversity as well. So that's been a trigger, I think, for a lot of action. Well, the best part, in a general sense, is that you are in a privileged position of being able to influence, directly influence government policy, where money is spent, what laws are passed, and when they are passed, you can be involved in shaping them and changing them. So that's one aspect of the work that I really cherish, because it is a privilege, and I really wouldn't change it for the world.
Do you think you've made a difference in the last 12 years?
It's not for me to say whether I made a difference over the last 12 years. I would like to think I have, otherwise, I'd have to question what I've been doing for the last 12 years. It's probably best for other people to judge whether that's the case. Still as passionate as ever, I think probably much more pragmatic in terms of knowing how the institution works and knowing what works in terms of achieving some of your aims. The future of Welsh politics is going to be really, really interesting, I think, over the next few years. I'm concerned because the Westminster government that we have now, the Conservative government, is intent on taking powers back. We're seeing it eroding some of the powers that we have here in Wales. But there is the prospect, of course, next time of the Senedd being increased in numbers of elected members. So that means quite a bit of reform in terms of the way that the Senedd works and operates. And to think that I want to walk away from that, no, So yes, stand again. And I would say, you know, in the 25 years of devolution, this is probably the most successful and effective opposition party that we've seen in the devolution era. Not just down to me, but as part of the Plaid Cymru team, certainly I'd like to think that we've all contributed and that we all can take a bit of credit for that.